Good morning, everybody. I'm here today with Julianne Berger, one of our new therapists at the Counselling Psychotherapy Centre in Swindon, and she is a family mediator. She works with children, couples who are divorcing or need mediation, family breakdown situations, family mediation, financial matters on divorce, mediation, information and assessment meetings, and separations. She's accredited by the Family Mediation Council for all issues mediation, and she's qualified to undertake mediation information and assessment meetings. Welcome, Julianne. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you, Heather. It's lovely to be here and to join your band of therapists.
It's wonderful. Your services are very much needed. So, could you explain to me what work you do so it's a bit more clear to people?
Yes, certainly. So there are a number of aspects to my practice. One of the things that we do, or that I do, is to help couples when they've decided to separate or divorce. So I will give them information about the processes that are available to them. And one of those is mediation. And that is a process whereby both parties come to me either remotely or in person. And we talk about the issues that have got to be resolved between them. So that might be the decision as to who starts the divorce proceedings off. It might be about the arrangements for their children, or quite often it's how they're going to sort out their finances, both during the process of separation and what those financial arrangements might be once they have finally separated.
Right, that's a wonderful service because it keeps everything calm.
It does, and that's the idea behind it, really. It's available to couples who don't want to end up in costly litigation or with a lot of solicitors' fees and such like. It's a way that they can work together. It's very much interest-based negotiation. It's working to find something that works for them as a couple and also as a family. So that's very important that they're working together. And it's also designed to help them communicate moving forward. Often that's an issue for couples when their relationship has fallen.
Absolutely. What a gift, because then they can co-parent well. They can use those finances to live the rest of their lives co-parenting.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
not only the couple, but the children benefit from that. There's been a lot of research that shows that children continue to be impacted if their parents have an acrimonious divorce. But if the children can see that their parents are working together, then that's really positive and very powerful.
Yeah, it really reduces any emotional damage.
Absolutely.
So, how did you get into it? Why are you doing it?
Well, I've been a solicitor for over 30 years, and I'm still in private practice consulting with a firm in Dorset. But over the years, we've seen a real development in processes that are available. So I started off practicing as what's called a collaborative lawyer, where you and your client and their partner and their collaborative lawyer sit round a table and sort things out. And the next step for me was to move on to mediation, just to work with the couple. So I bring to the mediation process 30 years of legal experience and over 10 years of mediation practice. And it's just always seemed to me to be more appropriate for people to be able to work things out themselves than have something imposed upon them by a judge who will inevitably provide 9 times out of 10 a really positive outcome, but it may not necessarily be what is right for that couple. So in mediation, we can be really, really creative and find something that works for them. It's a bespoke situation.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful because I see that in conscious uncoupling. There are couples in the world who don't want to go down that route because it prescribes a certain way that might not work for them. So having something that is really tailored and thinking out of the box, that suits them. If I had it all my own way, it'd be like this. If I had it all my own way, it'd be like this.
Yeah.
And they can get that.
Absolutely. And you know, I've had couples where they have been embroiled in litigation and they have a court date looming, maybe a month ahead. And one couple in particular, their court date was very close to our mediation session, but they came to me for one session, knowing what it was likely a court would order. But that wasn't going to work for them. They wanted something different. And in just a couple of hours, we were able to drill down exactly what did work for them, and they were able to then compromise their litigation and avoid a final hearing.
That's wonderful. What a gift to the world. And just I'm just thinking about the quality of life that facilitates for them going forwards, rather than having a judgment that it's uncomfortable for both.
Yes, and of course, if they've got children, they are going to have to co-parent. And let's face it, if a couple are divorcing, their relationship is not necessarily very good. Imagine what it's going to be like when they've spent hours with lawyers, hours in court, and thousands of pounds on fees. Their relationship is never going to recover from that. And they then have to move forward co-parenting children with all that cost and acrimony as baggage. So to be able to sit down together with my help or the help of another mediator and sort things through themselves, it's got to be positive. It's got to be the right way forward.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think you probably covered this question, but I want to make sure you have. What are you passionate about in the work?
Um, well, I suppose really I'm a problem solver. You know, I've been doing it for over 30 years, the legal work, and as I say, the mediation for about 12 now. And what I like to see is the client's journey. You know, that's really positive for me. But also to be able to sort things out for them, or rather help them sort things out. I don't provide the solutions, I help them find the solutions that work for them. And
Mm,
that's great. That's really powerful for me.
wonderful. So, are there any things people should know about how it works?
Yeah, I mean, very briefly, the process is such that I would see each party individually for an hour to enable me to understand their circumstances and the dynamic between the two of them, to give them information about me, about the process, about what's going to happen. And that information session is really important because it enables the actual joint sessions to be as productive as they possibly can. So we have those initial sessions, and they're usually a good hour in duration. And then we arrange a joint meeting, and it could be remotely or it could be face to face. It could be at the centre, obviously. Um, and at the beginning of the session, I will always invite the clients to share what it is they want to achieve during that session, or what are the issues that they want to discuss. And then we'll move through those bit by bit. For example, if we're dealing with financial arrangements, we would go through the financial information, make sure we've got everything, and if not, then I send them off with homework to, you know, get valuations or reports and such like. And when we've got all of that information, then we start looking at what are their options in terms of housing, meeting their income needs, in retirement through pensions and investments and such like. And it's very much a question of allowing the client to put forward their proposals and then looking at it and seeing whether or not that actually works for both of them. And often there's a middle ground. Most of the cases that we find are parties tend to be polarized at the beginning of the process and then meet somewhere in the middle towards the end. So that's basically how that works. All of the sessions are confidential. There's no recording of any sessions or anything like that. And they're all without prejudice. And that means that the clients feel that they can make offers to settle and to compromise issues without feeling absolutely bound by them. Nobody's going to be able to run off to a judge and say he or she said this in mediation, therefore they should be bound by it. So that then enables them to feel comfortable in negotiating compromises, basically. So
Yeah,
that
it's
works.
beautiful. That's beautiful work because, from my point of view, you know, when I see couples or individuals who have separated, and I know from my psychotherapeutic background, it cracks people open and they can become quite infantile. And I don't mean that unkindly. I just mean, when your heart is broken or you're in shock, you tend to go back to really primitive ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. And that's not the part that you want to be negotiating from. So what I'm hearing you do, calm them all down, bring them to
Absolutely.
their adult. Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, it's very much a question of leveling the playing field for them, because you often find one party has made the decision to separate many, many months before the other one, and they're furlongs ahead in their emotional journey. So that's often a difficult dynamic to manage. But also, one party might be the one who's looked after all the finances, and the other party feels quite vulnerable because they don't have all the information to hand, or they don't understand it. So I'm very anxious to ensure that we make everything very clear. If we have to go through things 3 times, we'll do it, because the last thing I want is for a client to get to the end of a session and go, I'm not sure I really understood that. So I will always make sure that they understand everything. And at the end of the day, I won't let them settle on something that ultimately isn't going to be approved by a court, because on financial matters, that's what they're aiming for. They're aiming for an arrangement that will be approved and ratified by a judge, because whilst we're never going to suggest that they need to make an application to the court, their lawyers will always say you ought to have something binding at the end of the process, and that will be a court order. So that's really important.
Right. Yes. So that crystallizes everything.
It does, absolutely. And of course, the other thing that I can do is I can consult directly with children. So it's called child inclusive mediation, and it sounds a little bit scary. And people think, oh my gosh, you're going to bring my child into the mediation room. Well, no, I'm not going to do that at all. But what I am going to do, if your child is 10 or 9 or 10 and above, they may well have views that they want to share. They may feel that they can't easily share them with mum and dad. And if they're about the arrangements moving forward, as long as the clients are happy about us doing that, then what I will do is reach out to the children and say, hi, I'm helping mum and dad sort things out. Is there anything that you would like to share? And it's really important that they know that they can tell me things that their parents might not want to hear. They're giving, yeah, I'm giving them permission, but their parents are giving them permission to say things that might not be particularly palatable to the parent. And that's really powerful for the child. It may be that the child doesn't want to share anything, and that's fine too, but at least they know that they can be heard if they want to be. So that's really useful for the parents.
Yes. And that's wonderful for the children, because part of the work I do is sort of mitigating the damage done by nasty divorces, and where parents have unintentionally allowed the child to feel really disempowered and unheard and not important.
Yeah.
Even with the best will in the world, sometimes that can happen. So even if a child just says, I want a bedroom in both places and I want it pink or green, then that's an important thing to be heard.
That's really useful information. The child feels as if they've had their say.
Yeah.
And I would always make it clear to the child, everything they tell me is completely confidential. I will only feed back to their parents exactly what they say I can, but at least they know that they're being heard. But they also know that just because they want it, they might not get it, and that's
Mhm.
important that they know as well. But like you say, a green bedroom or a pink bedroom, that's something that perhaps the parents can take on board. But the important thing is I want a bedroom in each house. That's really important for the child. And chances are they will want me to tell their parents that that's what they've said.
Yes.
So yeah,
It's
it's a
really
really
giving,
brilliant process.
yeah, really giving them a voice. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
very
It's
much so.
brilliant. So how long does it take? I mean, is that a piece of string or
It is a piece of string. We as mediators, we would always say sort of 2 to 5 sessions. Stereotypically, it's 3 to 4 if you're dealing with finances. If you're dealing with finances and children, 3 to 5 probably. Some couples will have 1 or 2 sessions, and will then be able to sort things out between them. And whilst I may not be there when they're having their discussions about the final arrangements, that's still a successful mediation, because it's also about enabling them to communicate. And if I can help them to communicate by giving them the time and the space, and just focusing on each party individually, and sort of allowing one person to say something and saying, well, let's just, let's focus on this. Let's not interrupt. Let's just deal with it bit by bit. The clients feel heard, and often they will say things that are really positive about the other person. And I often say that, actually, when I'm doing my intake meetings, my information meetings, I will ask questions about the relationship. And for example, a mum might say, oh, he's a really good dad. And I'll say, well, that's really positive. Does he know you think that? And she'll be, well, no, not really. So, well, maybe if he hears you say that, that's something that he can take away from that session. And that's really powerful, and that helps the parties communicate, because I can give them the space to have those discussions.
Yeah, to really improve their relationship going forward. It's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So just interestingly, how long are the sessions? I don't know if we mentioned that.
Yeah, the optimum time is about 90 minutes, because mediation is not an easy process for anybody. It's like going into sort of therapy, I imagine, where you're actually laying yourself bare to a certain degree. And you're often talking about really emotional subjects. So couples get tired after about 90 minutes. I get tired if I'm managing your expectations and your emotions, and often a lot of financial information as well. 90 minutes is the optimum time. Quite often we'll go on to 2 hours. If the couple particularly want it, we could set aside a whole morning or a whole day. Circumstances will inform how we move forward. But I always say to the client, this is your process. I'm here to do, to help you, whatever way you want me to help you.
That's lovely. They will feel very held and understood and cared for.
I hope so. And I think they do, actually.
Yeah.
I think they do.
So is there anything else you need people to know? Have we covered everything?
I think we probably have, actually. I think we
Right.
have. It's a great process. And I do quite a lot of mediation, and I love to see clients feel able to sort things out between them, because it's their lives moving forward. They should, with information, they should be able to sort things out. Most capable cases are capable of being settled by discussion.
Yeah. Well, what a gift to the world.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, Julianne. Looking forward to seeing you getting your feet under the table at our centre.
I'm looking forward to that as well.